Today we're going to cover a topic on Jiu-Jitsu that unfortunately some people will experience in the future: injuries. Okay, so when you're younger, you're less likely to get injuries. You know, the one thing that has created the most injuries and the most income for surgeons are leg locks, right? Because you don't have to put a lot of pressure to break somebody's knee doing a heel hook. And this is something that's, the trend right now. So when it comes to injuries, who's more prone to get injuries? Older people that train, men and women. So you want to be smarter to train the right way as you get older. So if you see the person is a lot bigger than you, heavier than you, if the person's a white belt and a blue belt, and they want to train and they're bigger than you and they're strong or they're reckless or they're, them as the wild person or the tough guy or whatever it is, it's okay to practice the moves and drill with them, but don't roll with them. Don't let your ego get in the way. Let's see what I could do against this guy, even though he's 20 years younger, because you're going to put yourself at a high risk of getting injured. And once you're hurt and you're off the mats for a couple of weeks, months, or even forever, that person's not going to call you, see how you do. They're not going to give two shits about you. They're not going to go shopping for you. They're not going to help you pay for your medical bills and your MRIs and your surgery. So, when it comes to learning the move in class, whoever you get paired up with is not such a big deal. Of course, there's always better people to train with. When it comes to drilling, that's a different story. But when it comes to rolling, you should be picky and choose. Even though if you're a white belt or a blue belt and you're older, the teacher should understand that you're older. At this point, most teachers are older. When I did jiu-jitsu, everybody was young in their 20s and early 30s. Now everybody's older. And that's when jiu-jitsu first came here. I started jiu-jitsu with Renzo Gracie in 1996. So everybody was young at that time. Even Hoyce, Horion, Hickson, everybody was young at that time. So nobody knew what it was to feel like as being older. Now that we are older and we've been through everything, now we can relate to that. You can't relate to something unless you have experience in it. So this is all pretty much words of wisdom through experience to help give you knowledge, to help you keeping your training safe and to keep yourself training. So when it comes to learning moves, of course, everybody gets friendly with other people and will train with each other more when it comes to learning moves in class. But when it comes to learning and drilling, almost everybody should be good enough. But when it comes to rolling and you're older, you should be able to say, you know what, some guy comes up to you that's 260 pounds and you're 150, and you go, and you're in your 40s or 50s or late 30s and you already had injuries, you just say, no thank you, I'm gonna wait for somebody else. It's not that you're afraid of the person. You want to be able to do jiu-jitsu and keep training. So also the teacher should have enough wisdom to pair up certain students and to have certain students avoid each other, especially with the kids class. If you have the big bully against the really little person and that the kid gets hurt, the parent might take them out of the school. So, if you're teaching kids, that's a big deal too. So, as an adult, it's better if you're lucky enough where a purple belt or a brown belt or a black belt wants to train with you as a white or a blue belt, you take that right away, because that person has control because they've been doing jiu-jitsu long enough. And it doesn't matter what size they are, most likely they have really good control where they're not going to hurt you. When you start to go with the white and blue belts, there is not much control, especially as a white belt, because everybody compensates technique for strength. And you're starting to learn jiu-jitsu, so you don't know how to really distribute your weight in different ways to take weight off the person and not hurt them. This doesn't exist as a white belt. I would say almost all my injuries came from white and blue belts, just training-wise, not anything else. So if you want to be able to continue to train and stay healthy and be in the game long, be choosy of who you pick to roll with. If you're sitting there and you just had a good roll and somebody goes, hey, you want to go at it? And you really want to, but then you go, you know what, that person's kind of reckless. That person's a little bit of an egomaniac, and I've been with them before where they almost hurt me. You just say, no, thank you. You don't have to always give a reason for everything, but you have to have the discernment to protect yourself so you could keep training. Now, what happens if you do go with that person, you get injured? What's the next step? So now, of course, you need to go to the doctor. You need to get checked, whether it's x-rays or MRIs, to know what's wrong. Sometimes the doctors just take off some time take a month, or you might need surgery, and then you have to go to physical therapy, and then it becomes this long line where you're like, some people stop doing jiu-jitsu after a major injury. One of my friends, Jerry, he was a blue belt. This was probably in 1997. He tore his ACL, and he's like, I'm done. I'm like, you're done? He's like, yeah. He goes, I'm a personal trainer. He goes, if I can't walk, I can't train, and I can't pay my bills, and I got a family to support. So you don't want that to happen to you. But now, if you do get an injury and you don't need surgery, and the doctor's like, oh, you have to wait a month or so, do that. So what do you do while you're waiting and recovering and healing? So first thing is you have to follow what your physical therapist has told you or the doctor has told you. But now what do you do while you're resting and recovering and healing? So one thing that you do is you go to the school. You sit there and you watch the classes. So your mind is still in the game, and this helps make a big difference. So while you're sitting there and watching jiu-jitsu, you're doing jiu-jitsu in your mind. I remember I broke my ribs competing in Canada. I went for a throw, and the guy was holding, and I forced a throw, and everything went. It wasn't really from the throw. I overtrained. I was working out like 7 days a week. My body never had a chance to recover. So what did I do with those 18 months of healing and doing physical therapy and strengthening? I watched every single match I could get my hands on. This is the days of VHS tapes. Okay, so my mind was watching jiu-jitsu 24/7. So now when I go back to Henzo's, I'm in shape, I recovered, my mind was in the game, and I remember the guys that I used to tap out were all lined up to try to get me. Revenge. It didn't work out that way. And they were like, man, where have you been training? I go, this is my first day back. They're like, how is that possible? Because I was in shape when I went back, I was fully healed, and my mind was in the game the whole entire time while I was injured. I didn't always go watch classes, but I was always watching jiu-jitsu tournaments of the highest level, because back then, the only thing, if you could get your hands on any type of tapes of tournaments, it's usually black belts and very few of brown belts. So my mind was always in the game. So if you're hurt and you already paid for the month when you got hurt, go watch the classes. You know, don't have a pity party for yourself. Say, I'm going to heal, I'm going to get better. Let me go watch and see what they're teaching. Keep your mind in the game. This is important. The next thing is healing. You know, when you're if you can't make it to the school, if you watch certain tournaments, you know, who's number one, Abu Dhabi, any of that stuff, keep watching it. Keep your mind in the game. Even if you're at home. While you're healing, don't try to speed up the recovery. Jiu-jitsu is probably one of the toughest things on your body. If you feel like you're not 100%, don't go back. If you feel 80%, don't go back unless you're 100%. Because if you're like, well, it hurts a little bit, now you're going to be in class, you might move the wrong way or slip, and now you're back to square one, or it's worse than before, and you don't want that. So the thing that you do is rest and recovery, eat right, nutrition, do what you can, whether it's just cardio. If you can't move, just go for walks. Once you can move, you start to make sure you stretch and strengthen that area. And then over time, you should be able to do dynamic movements, you know, with a little bit of force. I'm not giving you a prescription on how to do stuff. I'm just giving you an idea. So then you could start to move faster and faster. You could breathe right. You could twist, you could stretch, you could lift weights, you could go running again, and you're like, oh, nothing hurts anymore. So now you know you're probably closer to the end stage of healing. Now when you go back to class, you know, take it easy. Go with somebody a little bit lighter and tell the person, I'm coming back from an injury. Don't go for a leg lock. I tore my knee. You know, I came back from an injury for my ribs. Please don't put knee on the belly. Super simple stuff. You know, you just got to tell the person, oh, I had a bad wrist injury. Please don't go for wrist locks. You know, tell the person. It's not you being a pussy. It's you telling that person so you don't get re-injured. But remember, you shouldn't go back to jiu-jitsu until you're 100%. Back in the days, I was crazy. I remember I tore my knee. I wear a knee brace. I tore something in my hand. I just taped it up. I tore something somewhere else. I just taped it up. Because it's like, oh, you got to be on the mats. You got to be on the mats. Those days are over. Make sure if you have something that's badly hurt, you take the time off and you let it fully heal. make sure before you go back, you have your flexibility, dynamic and static range of motion, and strength in that area that you hurt. Once that's good, you go back to class, you take it easy, give yourself a test drive. Maybe you don't roll that class, you just do the moves. And that's another thing, if you're not 100% healed, just say, I can't roll, I can just do the moves. If you can do the moves, that's better than nothing, but don't roll. But now you come back and you're like, okay, now I did the moves, I was okay, let me try some light rolling, let me pick the right partner. And then from there, you start to go and then you get back into your normal regimen again. But if you don't do it like this, you might end up making things worse, where next thing you know, jiu-jitsu is not part of your life anymore, and that's not what I want. So everything that I talked about is to help keep you in the game, to keep you safe, okay? A great thing to help you with your training is definitely some stretching, some active stretching, which is yoga. Do some dynamic exercises. It's not just bench pressing and stuff. Do some more stuff that has more like calisthenics, see how that is. And look at some of the wrestling exercises, some of the jiu-jitsu exercises now that's popular that I used to do back in the days that people used to look at me like I was crazy, but now it's popular. See if you could do those things first. See if you could do mat work on with your own body moving around and see how that is. And then from there, go back to class. Just do the moves, do the drills, no rolling. If that feels good, then try the rolling. Make sure you got the right partner that's not too heavy and wild. And then from there, you're back in the game.
In your case, or in our case, in our 40s, what would you say is the optimum amount of time to train per week? Because I want to train every day. We all want to train every day, actually. And we have to take time off.
Well, how do I train? Okay. I always have people visiting me, and being a teacher, I know the students, what they mind, some with the experience of the years, I can feel the way they approach. So like I said, I'll train every day a little bit with the right person and the right amount. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna do 10 rows today because I feel good. I want to feel good every day, because if I do too much today, tomorrow I'm not doing. So you have to do a little bit of exercise a little bit. I think I hate to lift weight or do conditioning and stuff, but it's important because protect your joints, your muscles, maintain strong, and then protect your joints, Nothing heavy, just a right amount, a good repetition, and 2-3 times a week. Okay, a little bit of cardio, so I don't like to run, so I prefer jump rope or maybe swimming a little bit, or maybe even walk in the treadmill, because sometimes run too much, start hurt the lower back and stuff like that. But get my body move every day a little bit in the morning for maybe 20 minutes. I usually do maybe 5-10 minutes walk in the treadmill and 20-30 minutes weights and a little bit, and try switch. Some days with bands, some days kettlebells, some days free weights. So just feel nothing specific to be super shape. And training with the people. I really enjoy training with the black belts because they're more technical, or at least the brown or black, and with the girls. Because the girls...
You don't roll as much with blues and purples anymore?
A little bit. Some days. But with the girls, the reason with the girls, because I'm strong enough and I can let them move around, and whenever just push them away and switch the situation. You know what I mean? So I get the chance to let them attack, and I'll be able to move, and they're more flexible. They try more moves. They come right away, and I have enough strength to break the position when the situation different. But sometimes you roll with the blue belts and purple belts, and they try to show off, and next thing you know, you see he try a wrist lock. I say, hey, take it easy, my man. It's nothing like I say should not, but so you want to go in their way, so you know. So it's better when you roll. You know, I get so many people visiting, and in my school, a lot of black belts, so they already know. They take it easy. Let's roll. But like I said, if you want to go to the tournament, few days, you have to actually push. Yeah.
So Professor, I'm on testosterone replacement therapy, which I started I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about 6 months, and I was just getting smashed all the time. And it was just, the first 6 months of jiu-jitsu was terrible, and I could only train a couple of times a week with it, and I could barely get out of bed the next day. And then the doctor prescribed me the testosterone, and all of a sudden I can train 5-6 times a week again.
Yeah.
And I don't get. Do you have an opinion on that for the older grappler? Or the first 6 months of jiu-jitsu was terrible, and I could only train a couple of times a week with it, and I could barely get out of bed the next day. And then the doctor prescribed me the testosterone, and all of a sudden I can train 5-6 times a week again.
Yeah.
And I don't get. Do you have an opinion on that for the older grappler? Or
Well, I guess I think because you start already in the old age, and the problem with jiu-jitsu is your body start bend on the direction they never did. So you start feel like something you never feel, the joints and the muscles. Like I said, what is this, man? How this hurt? I probably lift the weight and exercise my whole life, but why I hurt in that place? So I think for helping out your body to adjust, and maybe you should try once or twice a week, do some yoga just to relax your muscles until your body start get more fit for jiu-jitsu. Because yoga usually they work in the whole body, so gotta lose a little bit of your joints, because jiu-jitsu definitely bend your body on the weird positions you never ever figure out you ever gonna do that. So with the yoga, I think it will help you, because you have to be in some different positions and adjust your body through there. So you help with flexibility and breathing, and you feel better. I think so.